Dun 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 dun. Well, we're about to get even smarter on education and attitudes in ophthalmology part 2. The first up topic is Democratizing Global Education, a Seismic Shift in Attitude by Dr. Ken Nischal out of the United States. KERATOCONUS to 2020 is next. Think Outside the Cone by Dr. Arun Gulani. And finally, number 3, From Fez to Fedora, The Many Hats of Ophthalmology by Dr. Kathleen McCabe, also from the United States. Great, well, we've got lively topics. Let's get right into it, real smart.
It's my great pleasure to talk today on this remarkable digital conference about democratizing global education, a seismic shift in attitude. My name is Ken Nischal. I'm Medical Director of Digital Health at UPMC Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, Division Chief of the Division of Pediatric Ophthalmology and Strabismus, and Executive Vice Chair of the Department of Ophthalmology, University of Pittsburgh. These are my disclosures, none of which are really relevant except the last one, where I'm a voluntary executive co-director of the charity WSPOS, the World Society of Pediatric Ophthalmology and Strabismus. So, democratize can mean introducing a democratic system or democratic principles, but it can also mean to make something accessible to everyone. And that's how I'm using the term democratization. It's making education accessible to everyone. And how do you democratize education? Well, firstly, you make everyone a stakeholder. Make the institution that's allowing this to happen a not-for-profit or a charity. Make the access free to the user and identify the most needy areas of the world. And the World Society of Pediatric Ophthalmology and Strabismus, I want to share with you, I believe, has done that. So the first thing is make everyone a stakeholder. And our ethos is expertise resides all over the world. What we do by doing that is make the participants stakeholders. Make it so that everybody around the world feels that they have a voice that needs to be heard. And then the next thing is look at the organization of the organizational structure. So in this charity, David Granite and myself, who are the co-founding executive officers, are fiscally responsible in criminal law in the UK for the proceeds and the finances of the charity. That said, the slopes of the pyramid of hierarchy are extremely shallow. And we have an executive bureau, a scientific bureau, a global consult bureau, an ethics bureau, and a connectivity bureau. All of these are voluntary members who feed into the structure, and everybody has an equal voice. Clearly, there has to be an executive to make final decisions, but everybody's voice is just as important. So it's registered in Charities Commission in London, and the membership is free. You do not have to pay to be a member of WSPOS. That's democratization. And we now have over 3,500 global members. But in order to become a member, what we asked was, we said, you can become a member as long as you tell us what the local organization is that allows educational infrastructure for pediatric ophthalmology and strabismus in your country. If there isn't one, then what we want you to do is to form a chapter. So these are all the member societies, but what's really interesting is by doing this, we identified countries in the world where there was no infrastructure for teaching and education and exchange of ideas for pediatric ophthalmology and strabismus. Imagine for a moment being able to focus now in these areas. South Africa was an original chapter, but because it became a chapter, they became organized, they formed a member society, And so they moved from being a chapter to a member society. WSPOS has held 4 global congresses, the first in 2009 in Barcelona, Milan 2012, Barcelona again 2015, and Hyderabad 2017. At these conferences, everybody had a simple name badge. In other words, no ribbons, no extra stuff. Everybody's there as an equal participant. Whether you're speaking or not, the members of the audience are just as important as the people on the stage. And so if you look at this map, which shows members of the bureau members, the member societies, the chapter countries, you can see immediately that there are large chunks of Africa where there is no representation. So again, allowing us to focus, allowing the democratization of education globally. A year ago, the pandemic hit, and on April the 29th, WSPOS started hosting webinars. They were free to access, they were live, and then they were streamed permanently on the WSPOS YouTube channel. We now have over 3,500 subscribers to the YouTube channel. And what we have found is that we've had total impressions for season 1, which was the first year, of over 400,000 views or viewers. The average views per webinar were 6,276, and the participants, the viewers, were from over 100 countries, as shown here. So what we did was in season 1, we had 95 panelists on the webinars from 37 countries. Season 2, which is not over yet, we've had 85 so far. We'll probably hit about 107. The fact is that we chose panelists who perhaps had never been on a global stage before, but for whom we knew there would be a local following, and this increases local pride. If you have the same speakers speaking to different parts of the world, they are not going to be able to connect like people from that part of the world can connect with the local region and explain the importance of what's going on. Not only does that increase local pride, it encourages people to say, well, look, if this guy who I met in a meeting the other week is on a global stage, I can be too. It increases the hunger and the ambition, and therefore the desire to exchange ideas and train each other. Social media is extremely important. You know, we've talked about the YouTube. We've got over 7,000 followers on Facebook. We have a Twitter handle. WSPOS, as I said, has over 3,500 members. So you have to use social media if you're going to democratize education. After the first 6 webinars were done, we used an online survey tool called Qualtrics at the University of Pittsburgh. And this is what we found. We found a total response, having removed the ones that had no data, of over 1,100 responders. That is a very big response rate. And I thought it was phenomenal. What that showed us was that the majority of people were hearing about the webinars from friends and colleagues. There's an email listserv that's run by David Granite. They were hearing about it from there. And they were hearing it from the Facebook group, from the WSPOS e-blast. And for the first 6, this shows all the different countries that were represented in the viewership. And when you look at them, the breakdown shows you that the majority from East Asia and the Pacific, South Asia, and Europe and Central Asia. North America was also reasonable, as was Latin America, and the Middle East and North Africa also represented. When you looked, however, at the World Bank classification of responders' countries, you can see that the lowest income countries still had the lowest representation. So in order to democratize global education, we've learned and we intend now to look at the local infrastructure of all those countries that have low income and see how we can find investors and funders and philanthropists to allow an infrastructure that allows stable Wi-Fi and maybe a smartphone or even a laptop so that hospitals in these regions have a telemedicine room where they can actually have teleeducation. What this showed was that the majority of responders had an organized structure within their country for teaching and training, including WSPO's chapters, but about 20% either didn't know or didn't have one. That's interesting. You cannot democratize global education without having infrastructure in the locale. The majority of people had done more than 20 years of practice, but a large chunk, around 45, had done less than 10 years. And the professional roles varied. What this has allowed us to see is if you're going to democratize education, you've got to allow your content to attract those specialist groups that you're not attracting at the moment. For example, orthoptists and optometrists, ophthalmic technicians, nurse practitioners. And while the majority of people were from a private, from an academic center, a large number were from private clinics. And majority of people attended 3 or more webinars, suggesting that we were driving people back to the webinars. What I think this shows is that the webinars had a high educational value. Responders said that they would change practice based on the webinar and that it improved their patient care, in their opinion. And if you look at agree, somewhat agree, or strongly agree, you're running at around 60 to 80% in each category. If we ask the responders to compare the educational value of the webinars to journals, conferences, grand rounds, and social media, the webinars came out on top by a long shot. So people felt that the educational value of the webinars that were free to access, made a difference to them. And when you ask what was the main thing, it was discussion, access, ease of access, and access to world experts. So going off on that, if you want to truly democratize education, then you've got to make education accessible no matter which part of the world you're in. So on the 26th of September, we did Worldwide Connect, and it basically was a meeting which had 4 main sessions. Each session moved its focus as the sun moved around the world. So we started at 9 in the morning, Australian Standard Time, switched to Indian Standard Time, switched to British summertime, and then switched to Central Daylight Time, USA. Why? Because this way, each region of the world was equally disadvantaged in either having to sleep and miss something or stay awake all the time and be sleep deprived to be able to see the whole conference. The conference was also recorded so people could see it later. So Worldwide Connect had almost 1,000 attendees, 82 speakers from 38 countries, and it was indeed a huge success. But it was democratization of global education. The Facebook page has become very popular, and in fact, using the Facebook page, we're using mentorship tools on Facebook to try and get mentoring partners for people in different parts of the world. One of the things that really is so important is how do you teach people surgery? And so we've done these virtual wet labs, and you see Rita Gamma here, who is one of the participants. And we also have pediatric ophthalmology and strabismus tips. They're called posts. They're 1-minute bites from the webinars about a very important point or pearl. And these are sent out on Twitter feeds, on Instagram, on TikTok, so that people can see these and learn from them. So democratizing global education has been a seismic shift due to WSPOS. Why? The society charges no membership fee. It has non-traditional funding streams. It has no president or secretary. It has a secretariat that administers it, and then there's a decision-making tree that is a fairly shallow sloped pyramid in terms of hierarchy. If we are going to democratize education, it has to be free. Participants have to feel valued, and therefore expertise must be recognized to be equal all over the world. Thank you very much. And once again, I appreciate the opportunity to listen to you, to talk to you today.
Oh, I'm sure that was a great talk by Dr. Ken Nischal. I've been a little busy cleaning up here in the kitchen. Before the next talk, which is KERATOCONUS to 2020, again, Think Outside the Cone by Dr. Arun Gulani. Dr. Gulani, take it away.
Hi, this is Dr. Gulani. I'll be sharing with you today my concepts of keratoconus management and not just stabilizing them or just correcting them to some level, but actually taking them straight to vision. I call that concept think outside the cone. So patients of keratoconus, I'm going to show you because I always believe in sharing my patients as a source of inspiration and accountability on how majority of them are actually seeing, and that is seeing without glasses and contact lenses, many of them in their very dynamic, very intense professions and personal lifestyles, enjoying themselves in different levels despite having their keratoconus and having corrected them without transplants and other debilitating surgeries. These are actually keratoconus patients on a single day that we corrected, from firemen to surgeons to all levels of lives. So I'd like to first define keratoconus. Keratoconus shouldn't scare you. Call it a corneal condition that's stable or unstable with relatively thin cornea, high keratometry, with stigmatism associated with myopia or hyperopia. So simple. When you think of it that way, it doesn't scare you. When you say keratoconus, you end up scaring yourself and the patient, and you lower expectations, which should never ever be the goal. And the exercise and futility I see in my colleagues who fly these patients to me is that they're so lost in grading the keratoconus severity or scoring the topography that it ends up completely confusing everybody, and there is no goal. None of them are planning for vision for these patients without disability. Cross-linking confusion is tremendous. I have patients who are flying to me angry with what's been done to them at different places in the world. And this whole debate of epi-on, epi-off, protocols that individual people have learned from their mentors, or how thin a cornea can you cross-link? How does that matter? The thinner the cornea, you just have to see, is it still usable for vision? Once it grows below a 200 micron level and becomes ectatic and thin, it's not a cornea that's worth vision. Provided, again, you're thinking like me. You don't want to just cross-link any level of cornea and put the patient in a contact lens. That's not a service. So cross-linking and leaving patients dependent on contacts or disabled in vision is not an achievement at all. Raise the bar. Dependence on contacts, like I said, or delaying a transplant should not be a goal. Delivering vision without glasses and contacts is the goal. And if you still land on residual contact lenses, that's absolutely fine. At least aim for patients' vision freedom. So don't get attracted, or don't get distracted by all these topographies and other tests that you'll keep doing on these patients. Despite every technology in the world that I carry, I start, if you see, And here you can see all these topographies that I can fix. So there is no level of extreme astigmatism or keratoconus that you cannot correct. That's what I'm trying to teach you today. And if you see these, if you look at the topography, you suddenly get scared. You look at this and call it irregular, high astigmatisms, and you and your patient just back off from here and you leave them to their fate. That's not correct. See what I end up doing with all these patients? I actually refract them. That's what I'm doing. So here are patients of intense keratoconus. I'm manually refracting them, not relying on any machine that does things automated, because this is where I get into their brain. Refract them, find my refractive error, and you see my protocol. Based on this refraction and vision endpoint, you can see me then deciding what I'm going to do and how I'm going to plan my surgery. Very important. And then the Gulani 3T system, where I always look at my vision target first. What is my aim? Then I go back to what technique do I want to do. And last of all is technology. You don't want to just throw technology off about whatever few things that you know. That's a wrong way of targeting vision, because then you're limiting the patient's potential. You're not designing for them. Here is a patient where I'll start showing you how my brain works. Here's a patient who was referred to me. He was literally in a lawsuit with a brilliant eye surgeon who did his surgery with a premium cataract lens. And the patient ended up with hyperopia, a central anterior scar, high keratometry, and they further did a posterior capsulotomy. So now there was an open capsule, and obviously the patient has keratoconus. Now here's how I think. What is going on with this patient? I like to break it into my 5S system, as you know. I like to see what is going on, and I see the problems here are the anterior corneal scar, the high keratometry, the hyperopia, which doesn't help this insomnia, right? Patient is pseudophakic and also has an open capsule. Now, of course, I can show my surgical abilities and artistry and still exchange the lens, but that takes away 20/20. You want to do the least intervention with the best vision outcomes, all right? So what that comes up here is, in my 5S system, as you can see, to correct all these issues, hyperopia, presbyopia, astigmatism, anterior corneal scar, high keratometry, pseudophakia with open capsule, I need one particular surgery that will get me all these issues, and that is myopic laser ablation. So see how my problem becomes simple now. I have a problem here. The patient is not myopic though. How do I now do myopic laser ablation, which could get me decreased keratometry, clear anterior scar, stigmatism, correct the pseudophakia, and the keratoconus to excellent optical zones? How do I make this patient myopic? That's my only small problem. So because this is a deep chamber, good endothelium and keratoconus, I actually do a piggyback lens. I call this to patients. I'll take you to Paris, but first let's go to Iceland. So they have to have confidence in you. So I first put a piggyback lens for this patient, and the patient actually, his vision went a little worse, just like Iceland was, right? Dark and cold. But his confidence in you, and you take him to the next level with that, come back to laser myopic surgery because you made him myopic now, and you take them straight to 2020. Actually, he went to 2015 vision, again, always without glasses, contacts, and got his pilot's license back. So here is my thought algorithm. Basically, every keratoconus surgery I divide into structural and visual. It's as simple as that. Do not confuse yourself with gradings and severities and what you can and cannot do. Very simple, structural, visual. If there is no ability to measure refraction like you'll saw me do, it's structural surgeries to build up that situation. If I can refract the patient, it's visual surgeries to take them straight to vision. So it's so simple. So take, for example, a patient with more than 20/40 vision, stigmatism more than myopia, good pachymetry, a stable, regular topography, no pathology. I'm not doing structural surgery because visual. I'm going to do a laser plastique on these patients. And you can see these cases, how I do them.
Here, I just finished doing laser plastique.
This is right under the laser.
Keratoconus cornea with the very irregular stigmatism. Can you see anything at all?
I see. This is an immediate
These are patients' immediate
difference.
reactions. Right under the laser, I finished laser plastique on
Oh
their
my God,
keratoconus.
I'm tingling from the inside out. This is fantastic.
Any pain, Hector?
No pain whatsoever. None at all.
Super.
This is great.
Very proud of you. I kept my promise. No pain, everything perfect.
No pain. No pain at all.
These patients go
And the
straight to
doctors
vision.
were watching, if you can see on
And you can
the
see the
screen,
reflex.
how the reflex has become a perfect.
It's a perfect circle. That tells you you've corrected the entire anterior corneal refractive errors with the least amount of tissue removal, with a large optical zone, and great night vision. Here you can see these patients the way I like to do my laser plastic and cross-linking concepts. Never cross-link, and I'll teach you that in a few minutes. Never cross-link a keratoconus patient and just leave them like that, because actually you left them disabled. So you see this patient, he's a firefighter, and I did his laser plastic, brought him straight to 2015 vision. You can see the astigmatism and topography straight to 0 from 1.7. And this patient actually even sees great at night and is conducting his very, very, very promising profession and very demanding profession as a firefighter. Patient who had multiple cross-linkings and ICLs and many surgeries all over the world with 3 brilliant surgeons between United States, Canada, and Europe, came to us. And again, all I did is refract the patient. So they all did a great job, but despite multiple cross-linkings, ICLs, and other corneal surgeries, the vision was left half done. So it took him straight to laser plastic and straight to 20/20. So no matter how many surgeries these patients have had, they can be corrected. Here are patients with scars. You can see how I correct them in keratoconus. This particular case is a Canthamiba scar. Again, I've done a number of these scars, and you can see me doing my in-cornea, on-cornea technique. This is immediate under the laser, and I'll go a little fast just to make up for the time. So you can always see these with me in my other talks and my publications that I've done, but you can see the concept here, how these patients react right under the laser. These are very intelligent patients coming from very demanding professions, and you can see their reactions. So scars and keratoconus can be corrected refractively. Don't do PTK, refractively.
Can you tell any difference?
It is a lot more clear. Things are sharper.
Patient reactions.
Image is sharp.
Any pain at all?
No pain.
Well, we're so proud of you. How many years have you suffered with this blindness?
14 years.
Hear that? 14 years of blindness. Such a simple 4-minute surgery. It's just the concepts of these patients that you want to correct and bring these patients to the best vision you can.
Again, as I teach, translates to vision.
See that perfect circle of
Therefore, I
sight.
can ask the patient.
So in-cornea scars are scars that become part of the cornea, and hence you can refractively correct them straight on. On cornea, you have to peel the scar and go further down. Now, if you go to patients next level, vision more than 20/40, so still visual, myopia more than astigmatism, everything else stable, you go again to visual surgery. I would put an ICL to correct the high myopia without removing too much tissue, and even toric ICLs, and bring these patients to vision. And of course, we've used all kinds of intraocular phakic implants since the last 30 years. We've led the studies in this. So you can see these. Many of you know the most common lens I use is still the Vision ICL, but you can use any lens in your country that works well in your hands. Even patients with extreme ocular surface problems, you can combine your techniques. I'll teach you in my next talk, Architect of Vision, where you take your amniotic skills and then do the corrective ocular surface, and then go into the eye, do the ICL surgery, bring these patients to perfect vision. So there's really no limits to how you can fix them. Now let's take another case where patient is still visual, meaning better than 20/40, and astigmatism, hyperopia, myopia, everything else stable, and the patient has a cataract. Again, because the patient has a visual potential and a cataract, both are visual surgeries, I'm going straight to cataract surgery. You can even put in toric lenses. I recently put the Vivity lens also. The monofocal lenses are great if they have extended depth of focus, or the X-wave technologies. Again, no financial interest, but you can use all these technologies to make these patients see. Now look at the topography. It shows you the pre and post-op has the same amount of astigmatism and keratoconus. Doesn't matter because you optically canceled it with a cataract and brought this gentleman to 20/20 vision. You can see the toric aspect. You can see the alignment of the axis right there. Any kind of technology available in your country. These are patients who are seeing the impact. The man is reading in his watch the date and time. While that gentleman, you can see with the Vivity, you can see right there. Now you can escalate these to higher levels. Here's a patient with nystagmus, ocular albinism, extremely high astigmatism, 11 or more than 11 diopters, keratoconus, and PSC cataract with extremely high myopia. Again, doesn't matter. The fact that you can do these lens-based techniques with such high accuracy, you just take it to the next level, bring them to perfect vision and freedom. Freedom, that's important. Now let's take a case which is still better, more than 20/40, but pachymetry you can see 300, everything else is regular. You can cross-link these patients. So whatever surgery you did visual in these cases, laser, ICL, IOL, any kind of that surgery, cross-link and permanize them. And my concept of cross-linking is called the Gulani keratoscoliosis concept. Very important, please. Doctors are doing this wrong. Just cross-linking a keratoconus is like putting cement on a bent back and telling people this back won't bend anymore. Well, all right, but the back is bent forever now. Why don't you straighten it and then put the cement? Think about it. So that's my concept of keratoconus. Cross-link it only after fixing it. So here are patients, all these are firefighters, and one particular day we did and cross-linked only after we had got their vision to 20/20. Cross-linking can be applied at various formats, and it's perfect, it works great. Whatever protocol you're comfortable with, make sure it works and stick to it. We have to credit Dr. Seiler for this, Professor Seiler, who did a great job in introducing this technology to us. And these are cases now, I see a lot of cross-linking complications coming to us, but again, using corneoplastic principles, you can correct them without a transplant. So now let's go to patients who are visions are less than 20/60, stigmatism, 250 corneas, irregular topography, ectasia, and anterior scar. Here is where I would do structural, right? And I would go Intacs. Because Intacs not only stabilizes my cornea and corrects my astigmatism because of the direction in which I put it, also gives me long-term stability, and that then becomes my protocol or my platform for future vision corrective surgery. So we correct all these issues with Intacs as my structural surgery. So you can see here various techniques that I've done. Basically, you can make with a laser or a manual technique. You can use Intacs, Kera rings, Fedora rings, whatever works in your city, state, country, as long as you're stable. All you want is stability in that cornea. This is my technique. And I use a Nischal sealant, or you can use anything but no stitches. That's very important to me. Singles, double segments, different placements. Here are patients, again, immediate reactions you can see as the ring goes into. This is called the Gulani titratable techniques, where I watch the central reflex as I put the rings in and I nudge them till that central reflex is a circle. You can see me applying the Nischal sealant here. And as the circle becomes a circle, the patient starts seeing actually.
Complications from your LASIK surgeon. Look into the light. Can you tell any difference?
I can tell her hair right here. I can see.
So that's the titratable technique you'll see in many of my discussions and writings and teachings. See the reaction. So you can take these patients from 10 to literally 0.1 diopter astigmatism. You can take them from 7.4 to 0.6 and LASIK ectasias, other ectasias with PRK, etc. Any kind can be corrected as a keratoconus concept, right? It's an ectasia. So you can take patients like I showed you from 23.5 to 1.4 diopters. You can take 8.4 diopters irregular to 20/30 vision. Very important. Similarly, ALK ectasia. It doesn't matter what caused the ectasia. Look at it as a keratoconus and correct it. So here are patients, after you've corrected them with the Intacs or whatever rings you use, you can still do laser plastique on top of it. You can still correct the residual astigmatism and bring them to an astigmatically neutral vision. Excuse me. Here are patients who are flown to me with broken and distorted rings. Guess what I do? I still refract them. I don't care if that ring is broken. It's working for the patient. We did laser plastique on this patient straight to 20/20. Once you master these concepts, here are patients who had multiple surgeries, like this gentleman from Egypt. That's a Kera ring you can see in place, 365. Everything done, multiple cross-linking, doesn't matter. Laser plastique to visual freedom. You can see the impact right there. Now let's go to vision less than 2100. Irregular, less than 200 pachymetry, unstable, and scar. Now, in my 5S system, where do you think I'm going? Lamellar keratoplasty, because I want to remove that tissue with the dense scar. It's not a superficial scar anymore. Plus, I want to add tissue to build my cornea for future vision corrective surgery. So I'm doing all of that with lamellar surgery. It takes about 11 minutes, topical. You go into the cornea with the hand lamellar technique. Most likely, I don't like to use lasers and stuff here because automated techniques cannot understand unstable corneas, which are very thin in certain areas. Hand lamellar technique, very simple, very simple. You can see here various hand lamellar techniques that you can do, and you can exchange this corneal portion with the scar, as you can see, with the donor, and do a simple 8-bite anti-torque suture, and you're done. It's so simple. So you build up the tissue, meaning thickness and clarity, you remove the scar, and the patient's ready. This is hand lamellar, as you can see now. This is my favorite technique in patients less than 100 microns. And you can see that again, very, very simple surgery, topical, and you're done. So all these kinds of surgeries can be done, and at any level they can be done. The lamellar keratoplasty decreases the keratometry, improves the clarity, and adds tissue. It may not correct astigmatism, as you can see here, right? Because there was no direction. It was just straight on tissue on tissue. You can do lasers on top of that. Yes, you can. You can put in toric lenses if they were cataract. You can do all stuff. Combination techniques. Here's a patient from Switzerland with keratoconus, congenital cataract, high myopia, astigmatism. We first put a structural surgery because I couldn't measure. Then after making the patient measurable and stable, vision corrective surgery, so premium lens exchange to 20/20. That's her surgery, if you can see there. So again, you understand there are no limits, and yet I'm simplifying it. Structural, visual. There is no other thought process I want you to have. There are no protocols I want you to follow. There is no confusion I want you to have. There is no such thing as thickness. Look at these parameters. Understand that every keratoconus patient can see. Take them there. Here's a patient who had 12 previous surgeries before coming to me, and you can see there are some of these surgeries right here: anterior corneal scars from PTKs, PRKs, cross-linking, intacs, ICL, a cataract at this point. And what did we do? Again, I first corrected the scar with laser plastic, made the cornea measurable. Having done that, I left the intact in place. Even though it was wrongly done, it was at least stable. You see how I think? No point just reversing everything the previous surgeon did. Then I removed the ICL, as you can see in the surgery below, and proceeded with premium cataract surgery. But the difference here, you'll see. So I got the ICL out. Now I will remove the cataract. Perfect. And I didn't put the lens in. I left the patient aphakic. You can see there again, no stitches. And then a week later, after refracting the patient, I put in confidently a toric premium lens straight to 20/20. See the sequence of outcomes here. So it's very important to understand my concept of structural and visual, and how keratoconus, you can change your practice, your outlook to your patients, and change their lives. A paradigm shift. So may I encourage you, think outside the cone. Thank you.
Dr. Gulani, fantastic presentation as always, and fantastic wardrobe. Great minds tailor alike. Now, next up, from Fez to Fedora, the many hats of ophthalmology. Dr. Kathleen McCabe takes it away in yet another amazing outfit.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kathleen McCabe, and this talk is really geared for people earlier in their careers. And I just wanted to say how wonderful a career being an ophthalmologist is. We have so much versatility in what we can do. And we're going to cover from Fez to Fedora, the many hats of ophthalmology, and really the many hats of life. So as we go through our career, I believe that this is true. To truly understand a business, you have to wear all the hats before you can take some of them off. And so that can get pretty busy. You don't have to wear them all at the same time. And clearly there's a lot of different ways you can provide ophthalmic care or make an impact in our industry throughout the course of your career. Not to mention, we all have families, we have, husbands, wives, children, parents, and those are an important part of our life, not to mention other interests and hobbies. So what is ophthalmology? Well, one hat of ophthalmology is research. So I spent my undergraduate doing research. I was really interested in having a career where I could continue to do so. And it's definitely possible. You could spend all your time being a researcher and work in a university. You could actually decide to do FDA trials or your own small IITs, investigator-initiated trials or small trials you're doing in your practice. You can collaborate with others. There are many different networks to get together with like-minded ophthalmologists who want to make a difference and answer questions. So research, it's a fun way to be on the cutting edge, discover new ways of treating things, collaborate with colleagues, and always deliver the utmost, newest thing for your patients and move our field forward. So another thing you can do as an ophthalmologist is mentor and teach. And if you're a young ophthalmologist, there are many networks you can now get involved with. The YO program through the AAO, GERSO, which is the Global Educational Research Society of Ophthalmology, has a young ophthalmology part of it. So that's global as well. There are opportunities through industry to have training on different equipment, and that's a great place to network. You could go to something like Millennial Eye, which is a smaller meeting that's targeted toward the younger ophthalmologist as well. I love teaching in wet labs, like I am in the left there. It's great to host younger ophthalmologists in my practice, and I know many of my colleagues feel the same. And it's great to just operate with other people who are earlier in their training. So I highly recommend teaching and mentoring as a way to enhance what you're doing in ophthalmology. Clearly, one of the reasons that a lot of us got into ophthalmology was for the surgical aspect. It's a highly impactful, highly technologically advanced, always evolving subspecialty. And just being able to move that forward as well and seeing the evolution over my career has been great. Interacting with our patients from birth to the last part of their life in an impactful way that improves their quality of life or helps to solve a disease problem is really fabulous as well. So yet another hat of ophthalmology. Ophthalmology also provides leadership opportunities by being involved in our national and global organizations, such as in America, the Outpatient Ophthalmic Surgery Society, the American Academy of Ophthalmology, the American Society of Cataract and Refractive Surgery, and there are equivalents of that in Europe, in Asia, and across the globe. And you can get involved in those national or even international societies like GERSA that I mentioned before. There's a chance for advocacy in wherever you're located. And in America, in the spring and in the summer, we have fly-ins to Washington, D.C., where you can meet with representatives and congressmen and try to effect change on the regulatory side of things. So lots of opportunity there for leadership as well. Ophthalmology is also an opportunity to partner with industry. And by doing that, we can make new products, new devices, get our ideas out there, and find ways that are really effective in making change for how we deliver care, how we solve problems, how we look at diseases, and what tools and devices and pharmaceuticals we have to do that. So development of technology, even working with very small startup companies or starting your own startup company, that's another way to be an entrepreneur and an inventor and use your skills to put on that hat as well. Another hat in ophthalmology is having an expert opinion. And so you can do that by consulting with venture capital. Sometimes that will happen. People who are interested in investing in devices and technology or even practices in ophthalmology. And also as a legal expert opinion. And that's something that really is something that speaks to certain people and they find that interesting and intellectually stimulating. Try it on, see if that hat fits as well. And then there's an opportunity to give back. And I find this to be the most fulfilling thing I do. And that's community outreach, either on a local level by providing care to those who are underserved and maybe lost in the system as far as coverage goes in your own communities. That's easy to do through Eye Care America and the ASCRS Foundation. And now OOS is partnering as well in America to help to connect ASCs with physicians and surgeons who want to provide care. So in America, those would be the organizations. I know globally, there's a lot of opportunity. I love going on global missions as well. And that's what I'd like to talk about at the end of this talk. So in the end, you want to find the hat or hats that fit you best. And it may be a whole collection. It may be that you really concentrate on one or two of those aspects that we talked about, or others that I didn't even cover. But for me, the thing that gives me joy and that I feel most passionate about really is the ability to provide care, high-level care to underserved people, either in my community or globally. And I love the experience of being able to go in and make a meaningful impact for an individual on their quality of life. But I also have been more involved in trying to find systems that will help to provide that care and help even the local area to continue to provide the care when you're not there. This is a mission that Tim Page in Michigan leads to Kenya. And I was able to bring my children, this Dr. Page on the right and my daughter Casey on the left. And we were able to help a variety of patients really in need there. And I'll go back again this year. And it's just a wonderful thing to be able to share with my children as well, this passion. And this is my son on the right, and a young boy who had just been injured by his brother who threw a rock at his eye a week before we got there. Missions, in my opinion, allow you to hone your skills by having to be comfortable in a variety of environments. And I often bring back ideas or ways of approaching things I wouldn't have thought of if I hadn't had to think outside the box. And this was one of those cases. I had to use a handheld little battery operated vitrector that was designed to tap and inject to do a vitrectomy for this little boy. It worked out really well. And then we've been involved in a long-term mission into St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This mission was set up about 35 years ago by an ENT doctor named Dr. Massey. It was called Mobile Medical Mission Hospital at the time, in cooperation with local Lions Club, and has provided eye surgery, optometric care, and clinical eye care and glasses distribution at least once a year for the last 30 plus years. And my family has been involved in this as well. Since about 2003, we've been bringing missions there on a yearly basis. And we are now taking this to a new level by trying to incorporate into that the ability to have a facility where we can have improved technology and greater access for the now local doctors that also provide indigent care there. And it will be a more educational center for them as well. But this is where we see the patients outside of the surgical area. And if you look on the bottom right, just outside that area is the cemetery right behind the hospital. And so it's an opportunity to do all the things we were talking about before: teach, mentor, educate, and provide this care. And you meet people along the way that are life-changing as well. And when you hear their stories, this is Dr. Cecil Cyrus, who received a Medal of Honor from the Queen for his dedication to the people of St. Vincent. And that's a story that you can learn by finding out more about Sight for Life. And that's our 501c3 for St. Vincent. It's a nonprofit supporting that mission. We purchased Dr. Cyrus's museum building, and we are going to have that as a facility to allow for more missions throughout the year, more access to equipment and OR time for the local doctors, like Dr. Orly Adams on the bottom right there. And it will be a base for outreach and education in the region, we hope, in the future. So if you're interested in finding out more about Sight for Life, please take a picture of this QR code, and that will link you to some videos and information and our webpage. So in conclusion, find your passion, try on as many hats as you can. Try to find the one that you find most fulfilling, whatever it is. And that may change throughout your life, but it's okay to keep trying those hats until you find where you want to end in the end. So I wish you all luck, and thank you for your attention.
Well, Dr. McCabe, thanks for sharing with us how to wear many hats in ophthalmology. And this is not the end. We have a little happy hour surprise for everybody else that's hanging out. Grab a craft beer or a mocktail, sit back and relax as we watch the Zagbo Happy Hour, a unique cartoon interviewer from the outskirts of Georgia who will be interviewing Dr. John Acura, special for the Cake and Pie Expo. Sit back, relax, drink, and enjoy a little bit of ophthalmology humor.
Well, hey there, y'all. It's that time again. I'm Eddie Zagbo, and we're back for the Zagbo Happy Hour, where every hour is a happy hour all the time. Last week, we had a special guest come on the show, DeWitt Dunkirk, a local fame, the foremost meese and skeeter specialist in the greater southern Georgia area. And I think it's safe to say we all learned a little bit about them naskin pests and rascals that we deal with in the privacy of our own homes and domiciles on a daily basis down here. This week, chiming in, we've got Dr. John, first timer on the show here, visiting us all the way from India. And Dr. John is let me see here. He is a doctor, some kind of doctor. As we all know, India is a grand country, quite far away, located firmly in the Middle East. And hold on, Tracy, I'm in the middle of a show. What? No, it ain't. No, it ain't, Tracy. I'm telling you, damn it, Tracy. Dr. John, my colleague and I are having a bit of a debate here. She's claiming India is located in Asia, which of course is not.
Actually, she is right. It is located in Asia, yes.
You're saying India is an Asian country?
Yes, India is an Asian country. That is correct.
Are you positive about that?
I am positive about that, yes.
Okay, well, all right. Okay, all right. Yeah, lucky shot, Tracy. Lucky guess. Nuh-uh. You're lucky you have a job at all, you nitwit. All right, enough of that. Well, okay. Thank you for clearing that up for us, Dr. John. And damn it, Tracy, you didn't even tell me what kind of doctor he is. What kind of show prep is that? What do I pay you for? Okay, Dr. John, why don't you go ahead and tell us, what kind of doctor are you exactly?
So I'm an eye doctor. So I operate on eyes. I check eyes. I make sure that your eyes are healthy. So that's an eye doctor. That's called an ophthalmologist.
An ophthalmologist.
Yes.
Gotcha. Roger.
Oh, that's a pretty difficult word, and you got it right the first time. So that's good.
It's a pretty strange word. I'm not sure if it's a real word or not, but that's not really important. And that's a great joke. Everyone knows you can't operate on eyeballs, of course. So what kind of doctor are you really?
I do operate on eyeballs, and that's actually very simple. In fact, so suppose this is an eye. Okay. I go in with my surgical knife and I operate. I make a cut and cure the eye.
Wait, you operate with a cut, as in you're cutting on an eyeball.
Yes, sometimes with knives, sometimes with lasers.
Whoa, no way. Get out. Dr. John, everyone knows an eyeball is basically just a big sack of water in your head. I mean, how does it not pop and go everywhere when you stick it and poke it with something?
By operating very, very carefully.
You stick poking things into people's peepers, right in the middle of it.
Right. Not in the middle exactly. A little off to the side. Yeah.
All right. And what exactly do you do in there? Because doctor, I mean, I don't want to sound stupid or anything here, but if you get it in the wrong way, surely you're gonna poke the peeper and they ain't gonna see. They're gonna see worse. You're gonna do more damage than good.
You're exactly right. So that is why we get years of training, and we make sure that we make the correct incision in the correct place. And we usually operate on cataracts. So we go in there and take out the old lens and replace. So
you're like some kind of animal doctor as well.
Not exactly, no. But we do practice on animals.
Well, you said that you're cutting into cats or something, and so I'm just assuming that you're also a veterinarian of sorts.
No, not a cat. Cataract. So we sometimes get white cataracts, black cataracts, brown cataracts.
I got white and black rats in my barn too, so I know how pesky they are.
Yeah, so it's not cat and rat; it is cataract. So that's a single word. It's something which happens to the lens of your eye, not cats and rats. No.
I'm going to be honest, Dr. John. Yeah, I think you might just be making up words to sound smart, but you certainly are convincing enough. So we're just going to go with it. I was also under the impression that people who needed eye fixing just wore glasses. Do you give people glasses?
I do. So usually that is done by an optometrist, but an ophthalmologist may give glasses, may give contact lenses, or may shoot lasers onto your eyes. So that is called LASIK surgery or smile surgery. We shoot lasers onto the eyes to fix the power so that you don't need glasses.
like damn Star Wars over here. All right, okay. And you say there's another kind of doctor that gives glasses. How do you kind of doctors get along? Do y'all get into street brawls over who's going to fix whose eyeballs, or how's that work out?
No. So the optometrist usually takes care of the refractive part of the eye. So that is checking the power, the lens power, give spectacles, give contact lenses, and that kind of thing. And a little bit of the medical part of ophthalmology also in some countries. But ophthalmologists mainly concentrate on the diseases and the surgical part of it. That is, we do the surgeries. Most of the ophthalmologists do surgeries.
All right. Well, you certainly got my head in a tizzy over here, and I do appreciate you explaining it to me like I'm some sort of stupid 5-year-old. That is mighty appreciated, sir. We're running out of time here before our next guest comes on, Dr. John, but I was curious. I've got a friend named Ricky. You see my friend Ricky? He's gone done in behind the cow feed and behind the barrel out yonder, behind his damn barn to get them moo cows eaten so that they shut up for the night because they're always going to moo through the damn night. And so when he gone out there and he gone to sleep, he's climbing through his damn barn and he's reaching for a hay fork, trying to get them moo cows some food. And for you know what, he steps on a damn hay fork and the thing leapt at him and he's hooping and hollering, lashing out at it, thinking it's some sort of snake or whatnot, saying, "Be gone, Satan," and thrashing about like a wild man, knocking about to and fro. And that hay fork comes swinging at him, comes knocking around, hits him in the damn eye, knocks that thing square out of his head. And now he's got this big squint eye thing, can't even open it no more because there ain't no damn eyeball in there. We all calling him Popeye the Sailor Man because he's got this damn squinted thing. And you see, before the whole thing, he was a pretty ugly guy. So now he's super damn ugly. It looks like he threw his head in the damn dumpster fire. So I guess what I'm getting at, Dr. John, is you think maybe you could help him out because what he needs is a new eyeball. And you see, before his old eyeball popped out of there, he had brown peep in there. But I don't think he cares too much about the color, whether it's green or blue or whatnot. He even said if you got a lady eyeball laying around, that's fine because Ricky's a pretty progressive fella. He ain't got no problem with having a lady eyeball in there. He's in touch with his yin and his yang, if you catch my drift. So I guess what I'm asking you, Dr. John, is you got a spare people lying around you could give to Ricky.
You know what? That is something that we can fix. So there is another person who's called an ocularist who do make artificial eyeballs so that if your friend requires an artificial eyeball, what they do is they look at the normal eye and they see the shape, the color, and the entire structure of that eye. And they very, very carefully, they very artistically, they create an artificial eye with the same color, size. And we eye surgeons, we implant that eye into the place where the bad eye was. And so it gives pretty good results. So your friend can become handsome again.
Well, he never was handsome in the first place, but that sure is mighty kind of you, Doctor. I'll make sure Ricky reaches out to you after the show. Well, folks, I think we all learned a little something about eyeballs and peepers and what Dr. Don does. Certainly one of the more fascinating things that we've had and a truly compelling and invigorating conversation. Dr. John, thank you kindly for your time, and I hope that we have you on again so you can tell us more of your crazy profession that you partake in.
Namaste.
Thank you, Dr. John. Well, that's all for now, folks. I'm Eddie Zagbo, and we'll be right back with our next guest, Ronnie the Chicken Man on the corner of Ponce, that fella you see walking around in a chicken costume. We'll come right back to that after the break.